All right. Well, good morning on this beautiful Wednesday. It's Wildman Phil here, and of course today we're talking boas. Yes, I know some of you expected me to have a nice long feathered boa, but we're not talking that kind. I'm Wildman Phil, so we're talking live boa snakes. And of course, this one you're looking at here is not what you expected, I'm sure. A lot of people, when you say boa and all that, but this is actually another type of boa. There's actually 40 species of boas on the planet. We're not talking about all those today. I wanted to show one that is to most of us because we have a lot of viewers from Arizona. And in the southwestern United States, we have this boa here. It's called a rosy boa. And the rosy boa you're looking at here is about as big as it'll get. It'll get a few inches longer, but it's not giant like people think of when they think of boas. But it is a very thick snake, and it is just that, a boa. Now, this boa is a burrower. Burrowing boas are pretty cool, actually. You'll look closely at the face, you might see it's kind of pointed and kind of narrow in the front. This guy likes to wiggle down underneath the sand in the upper desert areas. They also will cruise across the top. They don't live their whole life underground, okay? There are some boas that do that, sand boas. They spend most of the time underground. But this particular rosy boa is, well, I think very well rosy. And that's where they got the name, because of the colors. Now, there's a few color variations like in any different creature. I like this one with the pretty orange and the kind of slate gray. But some of them are just brown and yellow. Some of them have more of a reddish color, but they're still going to have some kind of rosy-ish look to them, hence the name. Now, we do have another boa in North America. That is the rubber boa, which does not get this big, and it's just green. It's like forest green. It looks like a fake snake if you were to ever see one, hence the name rubber boa. It really looks like it's made out of rubber. They also are burrowers. They live in forested areas in the northwestern part of the United States. But the rosy boa, this is one that a lot of people keep as pets, but being a boa, they have live young. That's one of the things that's different between boas and pythons, is that boas have live young. And this one here, it'll have 5 or 6, maybe 10 sometimes. And it's kind of a deep subject to talk about how that works, because basically they have eggs, but the eggs develop inside the mom, and they have very thin shells. It's a membrane, actually. And basically, she keeps them safe by having those eggs inside. No predator can get to them as easily. If they're inside her, she can go where the temperature has to be right. And then when those eggs are ready to hatch, she lays them right at that time. And so as she lays these little eggs, they get hatched out of these little babies. So it's a live birth. Unlike a lot of snakes and other animals that they then lay their eggs, some of them protect them, some of them leave, whatever. But it's a very good way of having a better chance of your babies eat mice. Yeah, sometimes it'll eat lizards, yeah, but it eats a lot of mice. And of course, anything that eats mice has got to be pretty good for us, right? Yeah. Now, you may notice, like any snake, it likes to stick its tongue out a lot. Snakes smell with their tongue. And I don't know if you can see its tongue, it's not sticking it out very far. Yeah. But these colors do help protect it a little bit by having these brighter colors, a little bit of aposematic coloring there, so animals think, hey, that might be dangerous, and they leave it alone, and that works very, very well for it. Now, it does have some things that try to eat it, foxes and coyotes and things like that. Also, owls, yeah, and some of the other larger birds like hawks and things will try and eat a rosy boa, especially a baby one. Of course, there's other snakes that live in the area where rosy boas live. King snakes, they're known for eating other snakes too. So the boa actually is kind of the middle of the food chain, if you will. Has to worry about things eating it, but by living underground, that helps. They like to come out when the temperature is right. Sometimes that's during the day, sometimes that's at night. So they're not strictly nocturnal or strictly diurnal, they're temperature controlled. And of course, then you have to worry about different animals at different times. But they're out there helping us by eating the mice. But you know what, as cool as a rosy boa is, as I mentioned, it's not really the one that most people think of when they think of as the boa constrictor. Yeah. A lot of you might know it as a red-tail boa. That's right, the red-tailed boa got its name because it has some red on its tail. Now, this isn't the brightest red I've ever seen on a red-tailed boa, but if you use a little imagination, you can see that it does have some reddish color there. This one's a very dark red, almost a black. Some of them do have bright maroon colors and such, but the scientific name of the red-tailed boa is boa constrictor. That's why most people know it as just that, the boa constrictor. Now, this is a small to medium size boa constrictor. That's right, this thing will get to be quite a bit bigger. Not the giant pythons, but a good sized red-tailed boa in the jungles of South or Central America. They're going to be, 8, 10 feet long. You're going to have a female is usually bigger than the males. The females get upwards to about 10 feet long. Males usually only get about 8 feet long. But that's a good sized snake nonetheless. Now, of course, you'd have to go, well, that's a 9-foot snake. That must be a female, right? But what if it's only 6 or 7 feet long? Do you know if it's a male or a female just by looking? With snakes, that's very hard to do, especially with boa constrictors. But there is a way with boas. You see, at the base of their tail, underneath, where their tail starts, there's what's called the vent right here, the cloaca. And if you look here, there's nothing to see. That's because this is a female. And males have little spurs that stick out right here. Those little spurs, she likes you guys. Look at that. She's like, hey, see my tongue? I'm a boa. I have a tongue. Yeah, she also has some heat-sensitive pits along her lips there that she can actually sense heat, which works out well when you eat things like mammals and you eat birds. You can pick them out. Now, they might blend in very well. Oh, and these are climbers. I don't know if you can see it. Hold on to me very well. Pretend my arm is a branch out there in the rainforests of South America. Well, this red tail's gripping on, holding on, and it's waiting. It's smelling. Oh, I saw something move. Let me slowly move over there and see. Is that a bird? Yes, and that bird might blend in, but it knows it's there with those heat-sensitive pits, and sticking that tongue out, it can smell and know exactly where it is. Sneak up onto it and then grab it, and as soon as it does, it then wraps its body around it, squeezes it so that it can't breathe. Once it's dead and it's not fighting, it's easier to swallow down. Now, the problem is doing just that, grabbing them, especially birds, because birds, well, they can fly away, right? Now, grabbing a rat isn't going to be too bad because it's just going to run away, and where the rat can go, a snake can usually go as well. But yeah, hi, how you doing? But with a bird, which boas eat both rats and birds, it has to be able to grab it quickly. So if we were to open its mouth, which we're not going to do today, it has pretty good sized teeth. It doesn't have fangs, it doesn't have a venom, but it has a little bit longer teeth than most. And like most snakes, these teeth are angled backwards. So when it bites onto something, it doesn't have powerful jaws for squeezing down. It has jaws that are made for opening, so it can eat something a lot bigger than it looks like it should. Well, when it grabs onto, say, a bird, that bird's trying to pull away. It has feathers that can come loose, and by having longer teeth, angled backward, it can grip, and the harder that pulls, the deeper they go, and it's just enough usually to keep it to where it can pull it back and get the body around it before it goes too far. So definitely built for living in the rain, which is where the red-tailed boa lives. Now, believe it or not, there are some things that will eat them. Of course, things like, panthers and other mammals, but also some of the bigger birds, like some of the eagles and things, will eat the red-tails, especially once again when they're babies. So what does it do if something tries to eat it? Well, that same bite that grabs its food is a pretty good defense. If you were to find a red tail like this out in the rainforest, you're not going to walk up to it, pick it up, and have it be super nice like this. Oh, no, you get close and it feels threatened. It's going to go ahead and hiss at you and try and act scary. It's going to go ahead and bite if you get too close. And then those sharp little teeth have now shredded your hand or your arm, or maybe your face. I don't know. And, of course, you're going to end up leaving it alone. One of the other things that the red-tailed boa, I think we can see that one, is known for doing is sometimes they'll eat bats, sneaking up on them while they're sleeping in some areas, and be able to eat those too, which, well, we forgive it for that, because bats are great. They're great for pollinating, and they're great for eating bugs, but, the boa has to eat as well, right? Yeah. So I think it's a beautiful, beautiful snake. And this one here is a pretty good example of a red-tailed boa. By the way, you might know somebody has one as a pet. They've been in the pet trade for a number of years. Of course, I talk about the whole bitey defense, and you're thinking, wait a minute here. If it's bitey, why would I get one? Well, once you get them breeding in captivity and they're used to people and that sort of thing, they are fairly calm. Now, I got to be honest with you. They're not my most trusted snake, if you will, because there's always the chance that it might decide that you scare it while it's sleeping and it protect itself. But look at that. You can see that tongue going real well right there. Trying to figure out who's looking at me. Yeah. Oh, now it saw one of you and you scared it. Oh, that's okay. That works out pretty well. So the red-tailed boa, one of many boas. Boas being that snake that a lot of people maybe are afraid of because they heard they're giant or whatever, but they're all very good to have out in the wild. They're actually, I think, a very beautiful snake with kind of a silky smooth kind of skin. Smaller scales make it a little smoother than some of the others. And of course, a very efficient predator out helping everyone in the rainforest. So with that being said, I do want to thank you guys for tuning in yet again. Hope you enjoyed learning about a few of the types of boas that we have here in the Western Hemisphere. Not only the desert rosy boa, but the tropical red-tailed boa. And it has been a fun boa type day. All right. With that being said, watch for 11 o'clock on Friday when we release another video. You'll want to catch that one. It won't take up your whole day, but it will be fun to watch. And once again, thanks to everybody for tuning in. Thank you to everybody who's been helping through these times, supporting, and hopefully you're enjoying all of these. So with that, thanks again. Wildman Phil signing out. We'll see you with another live Monday at 11 a.m. Arizona time.